Daniel, you made it. That's awesome. Who else we got there? Nyla. Hi, Nyla. How is your daughter, Koan? She's good. Excellent. Let me just test the sound if I can, in case I get you all to speak words. Hi, Soups. Can you say some words?
Hello. So happy to
That's
be here.
it. You're on. It's a blessing to have you here. Hi, Sam. Hi, Katie. And Pooh. It's so cool to see you as well. Wow. There's so many nice folk that I haven't seen in a while. Hi. Is it Julia or Julia?
Julia.
Julia. Okay, cool. And Andrea, nice to see me. Deirdre, hi. It's nice to see you. And Rachel, Santi, Kitama, I see you there. Welcome, one and all. Thanks for letting me do that. It's important, I think, for me to get to know who's here so I can talk to you. It looks like it's a skinny week because of Thanksgiving, or for whatever reason, there's a shift of population. I know Spiro's driving upstate. Wherever you are, let me know where you've landed. This is 3 Jewels. We've been around 25 years in New York City, Lower East Side. We teach Tibetan Buddhist philosophy with a New York twist, which includes sarcasm and dad jokes, right? But the content is truly authoritative. It's exactly the same content that you would study at a Tibetan monastery, at Gelugpa Tibetan monastery, but it is with a modern application. And so it's something we've been teaching here for 25 years, and everything that we teach here is informed by that philosophy. But how do I say it? Not in a dogmatic way. We're forever investigating, is Buddhism, wake-upism, Buddha, wake-up-ism, is it talking about the nature of our minds and how to transcend suffering, negativity, and states of mind that aren't helpful? And are these practices, the methods used in wake-upism, Buddhism, are they to deliver us into a state of being in the same world that is nothing but joyful, uplifting, meaningful, what we would call wisdom? Yeah? Bliss and wisdom, goodness and the insight that understands where the goodness comes from. And so I love what we do at 3 Jewels because we get the traditional texts and philosophies. And for those of you that joined this morning's Chi Jedrak conversation on general and characteristics, which is like really heady Tibetan debate about the nature of how we frame reality, the job of, I think, of us in the modern day is to grab that philosophy that's been around 2,500 years and helped lots of people in lots of cultures transcend suffering. And it's our job to do it in 2021, where we got plenty of suffering to do it. And then in New York, you can either get addicted to the bliss and the joyful and the stunning fashion and all the goodness here, or you can get attached to it, which will lead to some suffering, or you can be overwhelmed by the negativity and suffering. And if Buddhism or wake-upism is to work, we should be able to put it into practice, and we should experience a transcendence of suffering. That's the theory. I've been playing with it for 25 years, and it doesn't work all the time. Because the nature of it is not that if you study these things, all of a sudden you're changed. The nature of it is, here are these ideas, but until you've internalized them and practiced them, turn them into a behavior internally, it won't work, it won't be sustained. And there's so much in the world to transform, right? And so they say fundamentally humans go through these 4 things. They call them the 4 sufferings, or the 4 fierce river currents, the things that we will experience regardless. As soon as you're here, you'll experience birth, already done it, aging, happening right now, sickness and death. Those things are happening. Yeah, they're going to happen. But do they have to be a suffering necessarily? And Buddhism is all about, let's check that out. Let's investigate that. The Buddha came to a conclusion that says it doesn't have to be suffering. But you have to practice something to turn that away. So that's what we get to talk about at 3 Jewels. 3 Jewels, 25 years studying that thing, really heady Buddhist stuff, practicing it every day. On Thursday nights, we teach like the detailed Tibetan language implication, the debate, really awesome. And you got to get in there to enjoy it. And on Tuesday nights, I get to ramble about, well, what's it like to try and internalize that and put that into daily practice? Because practice isn't, actually, let me start here, because I want to talk about that today. Last week, I talked about reaching the glass ceiling of your spiritual practice and transcending that. You know, whatever box you create for yourself in your practice, you'll always hit some ceiling. And can you push through? Can you see yourself outside the box you've created for yourself, even within the context of, I'm a meditator or I'm a practitioner or something? And I got good feedback from last week about people can take on some active practices to transcend if they're stuck in any of these practices. But I want to ask you, all of you, what comes up in your mind when I say practice? When I say practice, just think for a second, what the hell does that mean? Right? Because I'm in a Buddhist center. I'm in a yoga, meditation, Tibetan Buddhist, wellness studio. And we practice something. And I want you to know what comes up first. And secondly, if I ask you, how do you practice? When do you practice? Some of you who have studied here might have an answer that you know I want to hear. But if you're honest, what's the answer that really you believe to be true? And for me, for the longest time, even after studying these philosophies, practice was something I did separate to my real life, right? So if I practice, then my real life will be changed. And that's not what Buddhists mean by practice. So I'm interested to see what came up for you. Anyone want to embarrass themselves or be super smart? Anyone want to raise their hand? What came up for you when I said, what's practice? And if you don't raise your hand, I get to invite you to raise your hand by calling out your name. And you're lucky in the studio because I don't know your names. Yeah? Alexandria, you clapped. Everyone's now all of a sudden no emotions.
Oh,
Botox.
So what came up for me is not just like when I think of practice, of course, I feel like the obvious answer is like that like regular meditation seat and maybe even yoga asana. But for me, it was like even like Ruslan and I went out to lunch today, and like how do you interact with the homeless people on the street and things like that. I feel like in how do you take care of your servers and interact with the cashiers, that to me felt like practice for me. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else want to talk about what practice is? I'm sweaty. I don't know, that's weird. Rachel. She's like, I was doing something else. Practice.
You're calling on me, Rachel? I said boring. Like I said, and what I mean by that, oh, sorry, am I echoing? What I mean by that is like, I just think of this repetitive action that comes before the real thing, like the thing that feels good, the thing that's exciting, the thing that I want. And practice comes before that. And I don't like that it comes before that.
Yeah, good. That's what I meant. Like your assumptions about just the word practice, you've just dumped a whole bunch of associations and you have to be aware what they are, otherwise they'll trip you. And so Priya, were you going to raise your hand before I called on? Well, you are now.
I guess I was not interpreting it as much of my initial relationship with the word practice. It's more how it's evolved. this is something you say a lot of, we're practicing whether we realize it or not. Like everything you're doing is a practice, or everything you're not doing is a practice. And I like working with it that way. So for me, it's more, I think about how conscious am I of what I'm doing as a practice. And this is not me being too nerdy, but you mentioned the Thursday night class. So this comes up there. Something I've been thinking about, we studied the idea of joyful effort, which doesn't just mean like, oh, we have to be happy all the time, no matter what. It's actually, when we dove deeper into it, it means, can you have a practice of feeling excited about your practice? Like, even if it's not always that way, we've all had that moment of like really getting excited to get to the cushion or to the mat and like have those aha moments. And as practitioners, like stoking that joy, that's what the perfection of joyful effort is. So I've been working with that recently.
That's awesome, because that's what I wanted to get to. I wanted to get, there is no time you're not practicing something. Like the neuroscientifically speaking, what's it called? The something default network, the default
mode network.
Default mode network, right? DMN, which is without thinking, uncontrolled. You move around your day with a certain set of habits that tend to repeat themselves day after day after day, and it's mostly the narrative about who you are and what the world is. Yeah, and it's some narrative that keeps getting more and more solid. The older you get, believe me, it'll get more and more solid the older you get, because you get to layer upon layer upon layer on that frame. So by default, our minds will construct a model of reality, and that's what we're practicing. So when you're waking up in the morning and the first upload for you is, oh, F, like Frank, I have to do this. And the whole emotion around the F, Frank, is this tightening thing. And you do that day after day after day after day, you're habituating your mind to practicing seeing that that's what the world is, and therefore you're more likely to find evidence for that. That's what we practice. Anyone here have negative self-talk narrative going on any time in the last 10 seconds? Yeah, right. What are you practicing? What are you practicing? And so the Buddhists would say, listen, you're creating those frames of reference about who you are in the world in an unexamined way, like not in a Buddhist class or in some other class that lets you investigate what the hell's going on in this reality of us. And I know it sounds trippy and oh my God, investigating reality, but without checking the frame with which, the biases with which we engage with everything, without understanding that, you're just walking around the world practicing something, unaware that what you're practicing, you're creating as you step into it over and over and over. And so mostly we practice the ordinary, because that's the experience here. Nice, beautiful things break. So we get disappointed. So now we're careful. We don't trust too much though. And we run that narrative because we've got evidence for that narrative. And so maybe the first time you fell in love, you're like, oh, everything. Second time, you're like, they might hurt me, but The third time, you're like, The fourth time is like, not sure, prove it. The fifth time is like, I don't believe in love, but I want to have sex. You know, like I still got the drive. We box ourselves into frames of reference, and if we're not conscious about what we practice, we might end up in an unexamined world, in a tiny little corner of reality that Buddhists say is just one dot out of the billion possibilities. You don't have to end up that way. But you ended up that way because it was caused. Your frames of reference, your practice, caused that. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to make Buddhism approachable. If that makes sense to you, then there requires some effort to shift the inertia of the ordinary, because you do get hurt in relationships, don't you? Or are you always in bliss? Oh, it's always in love. That's bullshit. That's not true. And so when you get hurt, what do you practice? Don't trust. Blame. You hurt me. And if you practice that enough, what do you get in relationships? What biases do you have when you enter relationships next? And so practice might be, I know that happens, but there's an element that also knows this extraordinary, open-hearted, vulnerable everything happens when you're in love. Like it does. Like you've all been like, is it puppy-eyed? Is that a word? Something. It's some nice feeling metaphor. Bushy tail and puppy-eyed? No. Puffy-eyed. No, that's a different kind of relationship. No. Bushy. You've all been there. You've fallen in love, and I don't mean just like sexual love. I don't mean just romantic love. You know, the first time I saw a newborn come out of my sister-in-law's parts, I'm like, oh, like I couldn't help myself. But he was a thing that was a concept a second ago, and all of a sudden is this moving creature, and the eyes fluttered, and I'm in love like I'd never been before. It's a different level of. I'm sure Koan knows what I'm talking about, or mums and dads here know what that feels like, or uncles and aunts. That possibility that feels so expansive, and like nothing can hurt you at that moment when you're looking at that child and you see, wow, here is stunningness. That kind of love, that's one of the many states that your consciousness, your mind, your experience of being can be at. It's just one. And then the sexy time is another one, and then the romantic love is another one, and they're all available. But what we practice creates the habit of thinking we're just this one. And so you tend to have these kinds of relationships, romantic ones. I use that because that's what mostly people are interested in. You have the same kind of relationships with money and wealth and identity, and I'm good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm great, I'm not so great. And like we have those. And Buddhists say it doesn't come out of nowhere. It's not like you had bad luck, you only get to meet beautiful people, you know, and then get heartbroken. It's not random, and it's not outside of your experience of it. It's caused, it's produced, it's a consequence of some habit, of some action, and that action is what we practice internally. Is that making sense? Yeah, so if that's the premise, then we get to this key that unlocks all of Buddhist thought, and that is the understanding of the nature of the reality we're engaging with and the nature of ourselves in relation to that reality. And unexamined, I'm calling that just ordinary, normal life, which must necessarily go through those cycles of birth, aging, sickness, and death. Everything goes through that cycle. Unexamined. But when you examine it, and you look for the nature of suffering in sickness, for example, must you always suffer if you're sick? Must your mind always feel like, oh, this is terrible when you're sick? And I don't mean your body and the senses. I'm talking about your perception of the moment, your internal dialogue, the thing you would practice in relation to an event. Does that always necessarily have to be suffering? And Buddhists say, no. That's why we practice. We practice the understanding that things don't have the nature they appear to be. That is one corner of reality that you're forced to experience because that's what you've been practicing. It was caused for you. But every other color in the kaleidoscope of reality is available to you if you practice it. So in other words, Buddhists believe that you can transcend normal to Buddha, to having woken up to the illusion that things are just this way, that relationships always hurt me, or that sickness is only suffering, or that breaking up is only heartbreak or jealousy, or, you know, when you investigate reality, you can't find an ounce of the experience you're having in the thing outside of you. You can't find a single sliver of what we call self-existence, meaning that the pain you felt is somehow trapped inside that relationship or that partner. That they said these things and you felt hurt, and it's because of them that I feel hurt. Buddhists say, no, it's not like that. You can't find the hurt that you felt in a single particle of that partner of yours, not their words, not their behavior, not without your mind calling it so, not without your mind experiencing it so. And that throws us for a loop, but that's really the key. That's the essence of Buddhist thought. If you come to understand that premise, and that's what we study Thursday nights and in most everything we teach here, that everything, without exception, internal or external, doesn't have the nature it appears to have. But it does have that nature because that's what we've been practicing. Yeah, it was caused. You did have heartbreak. It's not that you didn't have heartbreak, but there is no heartbreak in the breakup. Otherwise, everyone that breaks up must have heartbreak. And at least one of those two people wasn't having a heartbreak. One of them's like, yay, I'm out of this. Does that make sense so far? If that premise is true, there's not a single sliver of the experience you're having about reality, of your little corner of reality in that reality. Then the good news is it's something to do with me, it's something to do with my frame, it's something to do with my practice. And the awesome thing about that is that you can control that. You can control what your mind does, how it relates to reality, internal or external. And if you do that enough times, practice doing it, practice. There's not a time that you're not practicing some narrative. If you do that enough times, it becomes uncontrived. You begin to have an uncontrived experience of reality, how you've been practicing. If that makes sense to you, then you will understand why the Dalai Lama keeps saying, be kind. Like, be happy, be nice. Like, practice the positive states of being if you want to have a biased experience of reality which doesn't have the nature it appears to have. If you want to have that experience as nothing but bliss, practice bliss. Just practice it. Yeah, but she hurt me. She broke up with me. She said, Hector, you're stupid. And that hurt my feelings. Yes, it's true. She said, Hector, you're stupid. Yes, it's true. You hurt your feelings. No, it's not true. Your feelings got hurt because she said, Hector, you're stupid. But it felt that way. No, that's an illusion. The words Hector, you are stupid, don't carry radiation that says hurt. Because then everyone that heard those words must have been equally hurt if the hurt came from the words. Oh, it's not just the word, it's the way she said it, right? It's the way she said it. She said it mean. Yeah, okay, she said it mean. It probably wasn't nice that she said it mean, but did you necessarily have to get hurt when she said it mean? Not necessarily, because she's saying it thinking this is a good thing. Hector, you're stupid. Same sounds. She's going, yeah, this is awesome. Finally, I told him, yes, Hector, you're stupid. Or someone else hearing those words might go, finally, someone told Hector the truth. You're hearing that from, if you've studied with me, you've heard that 1,000 times. But the reality of that statement is the thing that will transform everything you don't like about your life and gives you something to practice. And so today I promise I'll talk about the power of your efforts to practice. So we understand if things are blank slates, don't have a nature, and the nature comes from something stored in me that is projected, a conception and then a label. A conception of Hector, you're stupid is, that's not good. And then I project it onto, you made me feel not good. Yeah. That's really all that's happening. If you understand that, that's called wisdom, understanding things don't have a nature other than the one that you place on it. Therefore, you practice giving it another nature. Then you know what to practice. Stop being a shithead if you don't want shitheads in your world, and start being a kind, compassionate, insightful person if you want to have kindness, compassion, and insight. That's it. That's the essence of Buddhist practice. Everything else is a technique, except for meditation. Meditation is the tool that lets you have sustained, continuous attention on the practice. It's really hard to not feel hurt when someone says, Hector, you're stupid. But if you had the power of meditation, bringing your mind's attention to the practice, then you'll see your capacity for practice. With meditation, mind training, train your mind not to be a reactive. Hector, you're stupid. Before she finishes, I'm like, you're stupid. I feel hurt, you're stupid. And the theory is, my mind heard me say you're stupid. That imprint, the intent to hurt, got perceived by my mind, recorded, inserted in my consciousness, more than what she heard me say. She's going to interpret it any way she wants, or she's forced to. But the intent of harm, I ate that. That's my poison. I've just got another beautiful collection of hurt in my mind, ready to project itself onto the next topic and the next topic and the next topic. You get that? It's not good news, but it's the truth, as far as I can tell. It's more true than thinking the words have that impact on us, or the reality. And then our minds will go, oh, is it true for that, true for that? That's searching, that's study, that's insight. And there's an answer for everything in Buddhism. So what I wanted to talk about today is, if you get that, everything you think, say, and do in response to a world actually is what you're practicing and the arsenal you're building to respond to the world uncontrovertedly later. So if someone said to me, Hector, you're stupid, the first thing I think about right now, after 25 years, is like, oh my God, if it hurt, right? If it hurt, Hector, you're stupid, and it hurt. I'm like, oh my God, I hurt someone's feeling in the past. I must have called someone stupid. I mean, it's not that linear, but you get the essence. The first thing I think of when something terrible happens, I'm like, F, Frank. Frank, I must have done, I have the seed to project that into this reality. I must have done something like that to someone else. Even if it was small, a seed grows. So I take full responsibility instantly. And that's not pretty, that's what I mean, it's not nice. It's like the implication to perceive hurt from words that don't have hurt in them is that I must have had that hurt in me. I must have caused some harm. And it's sort of the opposite of how we think things work. It's upside down to the way things work. But it must be the way it works if you analyze it. So the first thing I think of is like, sorry, Frank, I must have hurt someone. That's a hard pill to swallow. I'm still annoyed that she said, Hector, you're stupid. I'm not annoyed. It's because I'm annoyed, I've practiced looking for where the annoyances come from. And after a long time, I know it must have come from what I've done in the past. Without question now, I have that practice down. It doesn't mean I don't want to punch her in the face. Don't say, the impulse is still there. The inertia is still there. But what am I practicing? First stop now is I have an interrupter. I have a circuit breaker. It's projected. I remember karma and emptiness. I remember things don't have a nature the way they seem to have. I remember the nature is imbued like this really quickly from me to the thing. Conception, projection, conception, projection. That's all we're doing. So I remember that, and that gives me a moment. It's like, oh, don't say you're stupid back. Don't create more courses of that thing you didn't like. That's the practice, and that takes a ton of energy, right? You hurt me, don't hurt me. You know, if you want to even level it up, besides not saying something, say something extra kind if you really want to terminate the cycle of suffering. Look for something sweet, meaningful, good. If you can't, walk out of the room. Don't plant more mental harm that will be projected onto your reality later. So at the bare minimum, take responsibility. That's the practice. I must have created that. That feels yucky. God, I must have done that to others. I don't want that anymore in my world. I'll stop. If I can find my heart to honestly and genuinely find something kind to say, I'm saying, oh, I'm sorry that you feel this way. And inside my mind is like, I'm sorry I'm a shithead, right? I'm sorry you feel this way. And see if we can figure it out, talk about it. If you can't, which sometimes you cannot, step away so you don't say an ugly thing. That's the practice. Now, the power of those efforts, many people that study and practice this for a long time begin to get despondent because they don't see instant results, and we're in the world of instant results. So you're with your partner, they yell at you, you get offended, you yell back, the relationship isn't going that way, so you found 3 jewels, Dharma class on Tuesday. You get a new practice. You're like, the guy with the beard said, don't yell back. Take responsibility. So you go back home tomorrow, your partner yells at you. You're like, he said, don't say anything. I didn't. That was good. You practice. You feel energized. Like, I'm a good practitioner. I didn't say anything. So the next day, she's like, or he's like, you're stupid. Again, I told you yesterday you're stupid. You're still stupid. And you're like, don't say anything. Day 3, you're like, no, you're stupid. You've been stupid all over. You were stupid yesterday and the day before and the day before that, and you just let it out. Welcome to Buddhist practice. Yeah? When you let it out, your mind is recording that sort of barrage of hurt that you've imprinted with intent to hurt. Who recorded that? Your mind. Where did it go in you? Do things just magically disappear, or things create consequences? Buddhists say things create consequences. That must ripen, that must give a consequence, a result. And what is the result? To feel that people are saying that about you in some future time. And the longer it's in there growing, the bigger that things. They're not just calling you stupid anymore. They're calling you stupid and unorganized, or whatever you intended. And if you're a practitioner of wake-upism and you're using these tools, there's a couple of things that you should use to anchor you. And that's what I want to talk a little bit about. You should remember the nature of reality, karma and emptiness. It's impossible that you are separated from a reality where you felt someone hurt you. If someone's calling you stupid, you're not innocent in your mind. Your mind is forced to have that perception. You might not be stupid. You might have been an angel all your life, but the fact that you're standing in a room where someone's saying that to you means you're intricately connected to that reality. The reality is someone's calling you stupid, and you are not divorced from that reality. They're calling you stupid and not the neighbor stupid. So you are there. It's something to do with you. In addition to the sounds, you are stupid, your whole hurtness, the intensity of the feelings it gave you, that's yours. They can't force that on you. Have you ever been with a friend and they called you something weird and you laughed? Like something rude, and you're like, oh, I am that. Oh, it's just, you stupid ass. Oh, I'm stupid ass. It's not the words. It's the whole story that erupts from us and gets dumped onto and projected onto words and stories. Practice, including meditation, which lets you speed up your capacity to focus and practice, are the tools with which you analyze that reality. So the first memory is anchor yourself. The reality is, even though it seems that they're hurting me, or they might be trying to hurt me, the fact that I'm getting hurt, that's my part. I can do something about that. And it's to do with my response. The second thing is to remember that the response, the actions you take towards your world, don't ripen instantly. Oh, I won't say anything, and now I have an angelic partner forever. That's bullshit. That's not going to happen. Yeah, I practiced once not saying anything back. My whole world must have changed forever. That's what some people think. I mean, that was me. I used to think that. I'm like, I practiced meditation once. My mind is stillness. It's not. If you've practiced meditation, you know that the first 3 months is just opening the door of how insane your mind is. You're like, oh, shut the door. I don't want to meditate anymore. It's really bad in there. You thought you were going in for this, and then you found that there's things in the mental closet. Anyway, I don't want to discourage you from meditating. That's the experience for the first 3 months. If you push through that, there's more garbage. But you, but you have, you will develop tools to at least see reality rather than avoiding seeing reality. So anchor yourself in remembering the nature of this thing, that your mind is projecting the whole experience, even though it doesn't feel that way. Know that your response to it is creating your future reality. So choose the response that you're able to do in your practice. And it might not be kindness. It can't be kind if you're overwhelmed by the emotion. Sometimes you can't say the nice thing. You might not even sound wise. You might not even walk out the door without slamming it, you know? So do your best to not replicate the thing, not to duplicate the thing you experienced by shoving it on someone else, even if you're justified in doing so. Take charge of the reality you want to step into. Third is, remember that consequences take time to ripen. Your action to not hurt the person or to walk away will not result instantly. It's not possible. And I keep using the analogy, right? If you like tomatoes, bloody Americans, and you plant a whole field of tomatoes, as soon as you finish planting them, kindness, tomato, yeah, you don't instantly get a salad. You're like, where's my salad now? I planted 3 kindnesses. It takes time for the efforts that you put, the impacts you place in your mind to ripen. Then they will ripen. Seeds must ripen. And how do they ripen? Bigger than the result is always bigger than the seed. The kindness is always bigger than the seed. But that time gap can make you feel despondent. But I've tried. She still yells at me. Yep. Buddhists say that it's caused. It'll keep yelling. It will keep yelling. They will keep yelling until the yelling seeds have expired. And in their place, there should be loving seeds or walking out the door seeds or some other courses. And this is where I want to encourage all you who have already got this practice, all of you who have studied. The efforts to resist losing it is a virtue, is a good seed. Even the efforts to say, she's calling me stupid 3 times now. Hector, you're stupid. I'm not reacting. Nice hat. Hector, you're stupid. It's a little bit more annoying, but I'm not reacting. Hector, you're stupid. I'm like, I can't. And that resistance, that effort to not be sucked into the suffering cycle, according to the Pramanavartika book, the book on valid perception, Chandrakirti's commentary on that, says that particular movement of mind, that particular practice of making efforts to resist being angry, negative, harmful, that resistance from normal, from the ordinary, from the thing that causes suffering, that very 3 minutes of not yelling back is so powerful it's more powerful than unexamined life. That initial resistance is the thing that will open up your mind to the extraordinary. Resisting the ordinary for the time that you're doing it, according to the Pramanavartika, the theory of valid perception, says that for the moments that your mind is focused on don't create another normal cycle, don't hurt, resist, make efforts, even though it feels like a failure because you lost your mouth 3 minutes later and you're like, "Rah!" That's normal. That's going to produce what produced this thing in the first place. That's normal. But those 3 minutes, they are the door to Buddhahood. They are the door to your mind awakening, because the mind can't be on one thing, on multiple things at once. It can only be at one thing. And whilst it's resisting normal, whilst it's resisting creating another samsara, for those of you that have studied, whilst your mind is focused on that sadhana, that practice of seeing nothing but the wisdom that creates this experience, resisting it. And if you level it up to see beings as more than just annoying, but maybe teachers, all that practice, that effort for 3 minutes is actually suspending normal and creating the causes for the extraordinary, according to Pramanavartika Chandrakirti. And so the message to you, before you all go homes to families and get annoyed at each other, know that every minute of not yelling back at racist Uncle Sam or whatever his name is, or, annoying grandma, storyteller, whatever, or the neighbor, or the this, or the brother, or the sister, or the mom, I invite you to think of your practice. What are you practicing at that moment? Because whatever you do in your mind, before it comes out your mouth and in your actions, that's being recorded by you. That is your practice. And you cannot not be practicing something, because you're always aware of what's going on inside. Like as the uncle is mouthing off, you're sitting there going, oh, nice Thanksgiving. And your head is like creating the whole bunch of stories about uncle. Those must have consequences. So the invitation is, whatever your triggers are this Thanksgiving, which is just around the corner. Those of you that are going to family, or having to talk to family, or even deal with Thanksgiving. I'm Australian. I think it's a weird thing to do. Go and overeat with people you don't like. No. No, it can be nice as well. It can be meaningful, and you can cause it by the way you choose to respond. So the practice, I invite you to think about this, is whatever the situation, but I'll use Thanksgiving as an example, be prepared that your mind is going to be reactionary to a reality you're stepping into. It's the same if you go to a job and you have a certain state of mind, you've practiced a certain state of mind in that job. Don't be surprised when that state of mind appears. When you go and have to discuss the difficult things with your partner, you're stepping into a possibility that your mind will project the negativity, and suspend belief for a second that it has to be that way and choose a different response. That's the practice. You'll get a different outcome, but just not in the moment. Be sure that it must come. The tomato will take time to ripen, but when it does, you will get a tomato. So if you were kind, you'll get kindness. If you resisted normal, you will experience normal not being normal anymore. Does that make sense? Yeah. One more thing I want to share with you about ordinary, and I texted it to myself because I forget the order, but the teacher of the current Dalai Lama, his name was Pabonka Rinpoche, and he didn't teach in monasteries. He used to go out and teach the lay people all over Tibet, and then at some point the large monasteries would say to him, can you please not teach today, because we have a big puja going on in the monastery and all our monks and nuns are leaving the monastery to come and listen to you. Like, he was an extraordinary speaker and made these practices sort of accessible to the layperson. when thinking about karma and emptiness, meaning things don't have a nature but the nature that you're forced to experience, which is a reflection of what you did in the past, whether you like it or not, right? The way you're forced to experience a reality has something to do with you, and that came from you. He says this about the nature of how things exist. It's not that things exist naturally, self-existent. Nothing exists naturally, like having its own nature. The words, Hector, you're stupid, don't have the nature I just experienced. So nothing, not the words, not anything else exists that way, having that nature naturally. But it's not that things don't exist at all. So it's not that there weren't words thrown that came out. Words exist and feelings exist, but they don't have that nature. So they don't have that nature. Nothing has that nature. And it's not that they don't exist at all. And that keeps you in the middle way. And then these are the two ways things don't exist. And then this is the two ways things do exist. Everything exists merely by convention, what your mind conceptualized to those words and was forced to experience. And someone else experienced it different, and someone else experienced it differently. It did exist that way and this way and that way, right? So the way it exists, everything exists merely by convention, but it does not exist with that, and everything exists without existing naturally. So it's not only that way. It's not self-existent. So he's saying they don't exist self-existently. Every experience you're about to have isn't in the thing you're having. It's your whole mental story and construct about the uncle. And if you suspend belief about, sorry, now you're the uncle. So I'm just pointing that way every time I say uncle. If you suspend your belief about the uncle, he might still be a racist person. Like that might be the thing, but your experience of him doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be combative. It doesn't have to be annoyed. It could be compassionate. It could be, let's have a dialogue about it. It could be 1,000 different things, and we're stuck in this tiny thing. The more you practice investigating reality in that way, the more you take charge of the reality you step into tomorrow. Not doing that means others seem to have the power to create your life. If you don't see that your mind is projecting conceptions and labels on reality, which Buddha said that's the way it actually exists. It exists by things happen, and our model of what happened and our whole internal thing, that's all ours. It is a reality, but it's just yours. It's not the only reality. Yeah? And understanding that, if nothing else, you should feel confident that even your resistance to normal, suspension of the argument, can open up a door to freedom in your mind, because you've now found a different way of living this life. And it doesn't have to lead to the same old, you hurt me, I hurt you, you hurt me. And in that you will find liberation. The world will still do what it does. Your senses will still perceive what used to be wood as woody, what used to be air as airy. But if you habituate the right practice, which is why compassion, kindness, patience, and all those things, generosity, etc., you will, if you practice long enough, you will be able to see that what used to be conceived this way could be conceived this way. And you could be walking around a garbage-filled New York City on a cold winter's night, and instead of being annoyed at people, you might just fall in love with one or two people you see here and there and go, oh my God, what a beautiful creature. There was a moment of kindness, and your mind will be forced to perceive what you practiced. And I hope you get to practice the most beautiful thing with all the food you shove in your mouth on Thursday, all the cooking time, and every second you've got that opportunity, and I hope you use it. That's my story. I've got 10 minutes for questions. Any questions? This is good. I never do questions. Any comments? Feel free to write them on the chat. Sodi, I see you there. Oh my goodness. Where's Kelsey? She's driving to Florida? Flying. Okay. Nice to see you. Nice, Monique. Anyone got comment, question, arguments? Say, Hector, that's bullshit. You're stupid. I'll take it. Hi, James. Everyone's very quiet. Usually when we turn off the Chat, everyone's like, I've got a question. Then no questions. That's good. Go, Monique.
Okay, so
I can't hear a thing. Hold on. Try again.
can you hear me or no? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I was really like intrigued by what you were talking about, and when you were saying that, like, when you have an issue with somebody, how like your reaction, like your resistance makes more of an impact, but you could still have a reaction. So if something's bothering me and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to make a comment about it. When I hear about it, I'm going to not say anything about it. But then I just like blurt something out, like a smart ass comment, like not towards somebody, but just something random. I just get pissed off. I'm like, you know what? That actually really bothers me. Like now that it's brought up for the 5th time. But then I guilt trip myself for that. So I just want to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, awesome. What a good comment, because this need to feel bad will appear everywhere. Like if you have the practice of feeling bad, that's going to find its way even when you're doing good. It'll attach itself like a barnacle on a boat. Yeah, because that's what we've been practicing. So two things to say to that. The beginning of your question, Buddhism isn't, or wake-upism isn't, as soon as you begin practicing, you will not be annoyed. That's bullshit. Of course you're going to get annoyed. That's why we have practices, because you get annoyed. Things hurt. There's suffering. That's why we have the practices. So first of all, don't be surprised if you walk into a situation and you are annoyed. Just because you decided to investigate will not remove the annoyance, right? Just like I decided I'm going to be in France. I'm still here, right? Like it's not like I just had the idea that I will go to France. Here I am. It doesn't happen that way. That's not how reality works. You need to create the courses to go to France, right? Which then needs to be followed up by actions that actually make you go to France. So the same here. First of all, you will get annoyed and something will trigger you and something will create an experience for you that you will label a negativity, for example. Don't be surprised. That will keep happening. The job of being here is to be annoyed at things when they break, when they change, when they hurt, and even when we get dissatisfied about them. So even the Buddha says, even in the best case scenario, you get everything you want. You will then want more. You're like, yeah, but you get everything. You get the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the boat, the house, the thing. They'll say you get the best clothes, the best Instagram follows, and then the millisecond later, you're like, yeah, but a little bit more? I'm dissatisfied. That's a suffering. That's terrible. Like you're stuck forever. There's no satiating that. So don't be surprised if suffering keeps showing up. That's caused. That's a result of something in the past. And Buddha says it is part of you. Somehow it's part of you, because the reaction that you're having isn't the only reaction to be had in that circumstance. When someone says, Hector, you're stupid, I could have gone, oh, please educate me. Where was I stupid so I don't have to be stupid anymore? I could have said that, but instead I got hurt, annoyed, right? Or, actually, I don't think I'm stupid. Like, I genuinely don't think I'm stupid. I wonder why she thinks I'm stupid. You know, it could be 1,000 things, but my mind fixated on, you hurt my feelings. Why would you say such a terrible thing? First of all, they're just words, and I don't have to bite, but I did. That whole creation was me. So that's what in Buddhism we say dependent origination. That reality arose in dependence on something caused by me in the past. Why? Because someone else could have had a different reaction and I had this one. So I have responsibility towards that reaction. And you can still maintain that reaction while you respond. You can't change the reaction you already had. So your mind will have the perception of that reaction. I got annoyed, I'm still annoyed. You're going to have that awareness, but that doesn't mean that's your response to the arising. Do you see? There's the arising. She said the words and I'm annoyed. There it is. Ding. I now have something to practice towards. What's my response to that reality, that arose? And so you're doing two things here. You're alternating between I'm annoyed, I'll say nothing. I'm annoyed, I'll say nothing. I'm annoyed, I'm about to say something. I'm annoyed, I'm not saying it yet. If she says one more word, that's it, I'm said it. So you have planted. So while your mind is aware of the reality that's inviting you to respond, that reality you can't do anything about because it's appeared. What you can do something about is your choice of responding. And what I'm saying is, initially, you won't have agency to respond correctly. Because our habit is to respond with harm to harm. If someone harms you, you harm them, at least mentally. You might pretend to be, oh yeah, tell me more, but inside you're like, stupid bitch. Right? And so that stupid bitch is being planted in you. So all you have is two things. When stimuli arise, you have the awareness that there is a problem here, and then you have the choice of what to do next, which will create at some future time something that you're witness to and you can't stop. Like it's already happened. And if you choose kindness now, you're like, I'm going to not yell back. Really, I won't yell back. I don't want any more yelling, so I won't yell back. And you do that enough times, your practice has become, don't yell when people yell at you. The theory, and until you practice it, you won't know it for knowing it, like I know it. I've practiced this and I know it. At some point, that yelling will stop for you, or the response to yelling will stop for you. You're like, oh, someone called me stupid. That was funny. Or maybe I did something stupid. Or you won't hear it as yelling anymore. You'll hear it as someone's hurt and I could take care of them. What can I do to stop the hurt? Same situation arises, and because you've practiced a different response, you get a different arising. And that is the tomato seed you planted, and that's your tomato salad. It just appeared. And then you're like, oh, I like tomato salad, and you plant more of that, and then you turn it into cucumber salad, and then you get mango salad, and then you add bliss, and it's a multi-flavorsome salad of reality that you step into, but you are creating it. So I guess the answer, Monique, is as soon as you have a response, don't get stuck on, oh, I got hurt. Duh, you got hurt. Good on you. Now stop it. But don't stop the getting hurt. You can't force that at the moment. Your response changes it for the future, and focus on that. And if you can't be kind, then shut up. And if you can't shut up, walk out. And if you can, whilst you're walking out, think about what I do next. How I think about that moment will change those moments for the future for me. And knowing that, studying that, understanding that will give you freedom in a way that you didn't expect. It's not freedom as in, ta-da, I meditated twice and now I'm free. The freedom is like, I have real agency in my world. Imagine having real agency. Meaning, doesn't matter what comes up around you, you have the capacity, the mental focus, and the wisdom, the habit, the kindness to create a better world around you. The confidence to know you do that by every response. Imagine actually walking around like that going, oh, uncle's gonna be weird, but I can actually dialogue with uncle and no one else can. Poor bastard, he'll figure it out soon that him being racist will hurt him and other people, but I'm gonna see if I can help him rather than punching him in the face every time. Thank you. Don't punch uncle in the face. Thanks. Any other comments? Julia's like, damn it, I was trying to, I was thinking of meeting Uncle Sam, punching him in the face. Anyone else? bottom line is you have infinite potential inside of you to see the world as magic. Really, 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 really. And it's not just words. Yeah. Hi.
So would you say, so when you're talking about how the resistance part is part of planting a seed, even if you aren't able to come back with kindness. So like that sounds to me like what you do toward others will have more impact than what you do that stays internal.
The question was the focus on resisting continuing a harm for a harm. Yeah, an eye for an eye will make a world blind, or something the Dalai Lama said, right? Just resisting hurting others. You're saying, is that more important than the internal thing, right? What do you mean by internal thing?
Or like, I mean, no, like, is it more important? Like, it sounds almost, in my head, I put it in a hierarchy of like, if you have the wherewithal to be kind back in that moment,
Yeah.
be planting like more tomatoes than if just the
Resisting, yeah, good. So the question is it better to be kind than to resist being unkind? Yeah? And this is where you have to have your spiritual maturity. Sometimes you won't be able to be kind back. Yeah? And when you can't, don't be down on yourself for just resisting. Because according to Master Chandrakirti says that resisting is the doorway to awakening, because you've just stopped a cycle. Is it better to cause a positive reality by being kind? Of course, it's much stronger, yeah? Because your mind then records a conception that in the face of terribleness, you did something awesome. And that disparity of between normal and extraordinary, that perception is recorded in you and must have a consequence of that gap. So when you lost your shit at some future time, someone must come up to you and do this greatest kindness that takes you out of your shit in an unexpected way. You're like, whoa, what just happened? And if you're able to make the connection that, oh, it was at Thanksgiving when I didn't punch Uncle Sam in the face and I was instead kind and listened to his bullshit. You know, if you can connect that, then you've got this freedom I'm talking about. Now, for new practitioners, practicing this method of whatever I put into my mind is what I experience outside, planting the kindness to Uncle Sam at Thanksgiving might give the impression that all of a sudden Uncle Sam has to be nice instantly, but he's not. He's going to still be racist. Like, whatever you do to him, he's going to still be him. You just need to habituate that practice enough until you don't see racist uncles anymore. I mean, I don't know why I'm using that example, but, you know, I'm imagining everyone's got some weird uncle. Yeah, I hope that answer did it. Yeah. If you can, do a kindness. If you can't, resist normal. That's powerful. Every one of you who have failed at being kind but resisted, you have done an extraordinary thing by suspending samsara. Like, the moment that you held back from normal, you have done an extraordinary thing to create the extraordinary in your mind.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned to work out, you cannot say
Mm?
something good. If it is like unhealthy information that someone's saying, and I want to know when it's going to be the best time to just walk out. Because some people, when you walk out and they yell at you, just make the situation
Yeah, good. So the question was, sometimes when someone yells at you and you walk out, it makes the situation worse. So I had that with my angry boss, and I have to admit, like, guilty pleasure was practicing mindfulness but knowing he's getting more pissed off, right? Like, I'm like, I'm not responding, and he's like, but Hector, yeah, and I'm like, you know, it's not good. It really isn't good. But you're going to do it, okay? You're going to do it. The bottom line is, do your very best not to create harm. Do your very best not to create harm. If staying in the room creates harm for you and fodder for them to yell, let them, have their own moment, and they have to figure out themselves. You can figure out yourself. If you have strength to sit there and be yelled at and not be affected or harmed, that's a strong practice. Leaning into the discomfort and not walking out and going, I'm going to transform every word, every decibel, everything. Internally, you're doing this. Externally, they're yelling at you. If you have a practice that's sustained enough to be able to be in the face of that, that's another level of practitioner. And in fact, there are practitioners who go and look for people that annoy them to see if I still got annoyance. Like, go and hang around people that really piss you off to see, oh, how does piss offness arise in me? Not because you like hanging out with shitty people, but because you want to get rid of the shittiness in you. And you go, let me go hang out with Uncle Sam today. Poor Uncle Sam. Let me go hang out with Uncle Sam today and see how annoyed I get. And then your strategy is try and be kind or walk away. How long can I sustain? Yes, Uncle Sam. Oh, really? Well, what if it's this? I don't think people should be treated that way. What about that? And then he's saying things and saying things. And at some point you're noticing, wow, I really want to yell at him. Wow, I really want to do it. So a strong practitioner, meaning someone who's had enough habit building practice, can stay in the room for a long time. If it's going to create negative imprints in you, don't hang around too long. Yeah? The bottom line is choose kindness over harm. If nothing else, you'll neutralize the downward cycle of this world, where is every harm is met with harm. Greed is met with more greed. Like, we're jealous of people getting things that they enjoy because we might enjoy them. You're like, why did she get all the followers and I didn't? Instead of, wow, she got all the followers. I wanted all those followers, and now this person's got it. Yay. Why not be happy for people that get what they want? Why be unhappy? So this system of seeds is all about taking charge of what you store in your mind, which will be the thing that projects your reality. I hope that helped. Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Thanks for coming out on a freezing cold New York. One more question. Hold on. You can go if you want to. We're going to hang out. Actually, let me say goodbye to them. Oh, actually, no, you can stay if you want. Or you can say goodbye if you want.
So, yeah, I'm really grateful that you're talking about this, because I actually came here wishing that you were going to talk about heartbreak, because my ex just broke up with me. Yeah.
Heartbreak question.
And so I was wondering if, because it's really hard for me to see how I could not be suffering right now.
Yeah.
And so my question is, like, do you mean more like the clinging? Because how I perceive it is like there will always be suffering, but is the clinging to the suffering that ultimately we need to release?
Yeah.
So like
Good.
my question is it are you suggesting that also that the actual, like, the aggregate itself, like, because I don't see that. I see the clinging, like the suffering, the aggregate's always saying in the world that
Yeah.
clinging that would be, or the identification to it.
So the question is, my boyfriend just broke up with me and I'm feeling suffering. And are we saying, are Buddhists saying, is it the clinging to the suffering that we want to drop? Or are you saying that suffering itself can disappear? Yeah? Both. First, you must let go of the attachment to suffering, the labeling to this experience as suffering. And you can't force it. Suffering is. It exists. You are having those experiences, but you're not divorced from being a player in the experience. Your mind engaging with a breakup in a particular way, that's your particular experience. That's you. Can that change? Buddhists say, absolutely. It can change moment to moment. Can you force that change now? Not possible. You have to create the causes for that thing to change. Yeah, and so the attachment to suffering, if I hear your question right, is this thing that the story we begin to tell, the practice we begin to engage with the story of the breakup. The story of the breakup is he said this, and this means I am this way, and he never meant this, and he never meant that, and then this isn't true, and then that couldn't be true. And that's bullshit. It's the way we're forced to see it right now because of breakup. But rewind 5 months or whatever it is, and a moment of love was a genuine moment of love. But the moment right now will have you believe that that was a lie. And the fact is they were both truths. There was love and then there was no love. Or there was kindness and then there was hurt. And so our model of the world will have us stick to this narrative right now because it's dangerous and it hurts, and ruminate on it and practice on it until we can't live without that identification with the hurt. At some point, that will change naturally, like its own thing. But Buddha says you can speed up the change by practicing with the hurtful thing. Go, damn, investigate the nature of where is the hurt. Is there any goodness in this breakup? Did I grow in anything? Was there a lesson? Like, there's 1,000 ways. Could you have compassion for them? You know? Or does it have to be just the way you're experiencing right now? And it's not to say you're not experiencing it. It's like, okay, I'm experiencing it this way, but if I don't like it, can I change the narrative to kindness, to wisdom, to hope? Can I get to the point where I wish that they will love again even better than we managed to do it? For them, like, can you get to that point? I know if it might be raw if it was close, but I want to lean into that because honestly, that can change everything. That gives you the freedom. You're not hooked. So initially that. Buddhists say, if the world is a projection based on our mental imprints and things don't have the nature they appear to have, then the fact of suffering itself can end. There is nothing, they won't be suffering in a Buddha's mind, in a mind that has transcended suffering. Suffering is caused. Know how to uncause it and you're free of suffering. Meaning not even the consequences for suffering, not even the, what did you call it? The aggregates, which is a really cool word, because all those things come together to give you suffering. You remove the things coming together, you won't have suffering. And if you want to get trippy, Buddha, there's this big painting on in the way out, it's called the Bhava Chakra, the wheel of life. It's a big red monster holding a wheel. That's the cycles of sufferings we create. Buddha is outside of that. That monster is impermanence, change, and suffering. A person that can be Buddha, which is you and you and you and you, because you have a mind, and that mind can change. And if you change all the suffering in it, it's outside the wheel of suffering. They say you can eliminate aging, sickness, and death. Birth, aging, sickness, and death. Because that's also a conception upon aggregates. So that's like over there. But both are true. Like, you can remove both, the attachment, but you don't negate the experience, you're suffering. You use the experience to transform it. It doesn't have to be suffering. It doesn't have that nature, not in the breakup. What if you're about to meet the one out of all the ones, and that was the lessons you learned in that was nothing but a teaching and a preparation for the most optimum state of being you could ever be. And you might not see it right now. And I don't know if that's the case, but just the investigation changes what you're practicing in relation to the reality. And that's yours to do, joyfully or angrily. You become what you practice. Okay, I hope that helped. You got another question? She's like, please, please, please. Okay, Monique, it was like the boyfriend thing for sure. Let's hear it.
Okay, no, I'm like extra single. It's nothing to do with a boyfriend. But if someone, okay, so actually just hearing her, or I didn't hear who was it that asked, but their question, and then my question before that. So, okay, so let's say you change your perception, you practice on how this person hurt you. While you're practicing this for yourself so that you don't see it as they did something to me, they hurt me, you know what I mean? Like, I feel this pain because they said this. Is it okay to choose to not be around them while you're trying to heal? You know what I mean? Like, what if they keep popping up and you can't help it? Like, you know what I mean?
You have to practice within your capacity, meaning keep stretching your capacity to the ability where you can do the best thing you can do. But if being around them isn't helpful because your mind is obsessing about being a certain way, piss off. Like go to Paris. Like, take Instagram pictures, not to make them jealous, but maybe. No, don't do that. The whole idea of monasteries and meditation retreats are exactly for that. We don't naturally have the capacity to engage with negativity and just shift it because we want to. It takes practice. What kind of practice? Meditation, concentration, awareness and study of what's kindness, what's not, cause and effect, emptiness, karma. And so most people can't do that on a regular basis, like just walking around having a job. So you piss off. You go and become a monk or a nun, and you go in a monastery and you're like, I'm obsessing about how my mind reacts to reality. And until I've got that habit, get it? That habit, nuns have habits. Thank you. It's a dad joke. Until you have the habit of not responding negatively, you don't leave the monastic life. Or until that you've gotten clear about, wow, this breakup really gave me a whole bunch of opportunities. I could see why it didn't work, and I'm not upset. Maybe I'm kind about it. You could come to that in a meditation retreat. So yeah, go away. Retreating is a good thing because you build up strength mentally in a simulation of meditation or in a community of practitioners where you serve and you avoid negativity, and that gives your mind strength to engage with that reality. So yeah, of course, don't go don't go hanging around with people that hurt you. That's not what Buddha said. Yeah. Okay, Merry Chrysler, everyone. Thank you for joining. Have an awesome evening. See you next Tuesday. Enjoy, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Is next Tuesday the last one?
Next Tuesday is the last one? No. The last one, 2 more Tuesdays, and then finished. I got 2 announcements. 3 Jewels is a non-profit organization. Every year we spend all our money to give away to people that can't afford to come to meditation, yoga, or other things. This class is by donation. All the online classes by donation. If you can donate, we are running an end-of-year fundraiser where you get all these workshops that you can come to experience between now and end of December. And we're aiming to raise enough funds to continue to give away these things for free. So if you can, it's end of year, 100% tax deductible. Please donate to the end of year fundraiser. If you go to 3jewels.org, you will see that pop up if it hasn't popped up. And please donate generously. We can then give away all these classes to people that can't come here. We can go to them and give meditation, yoga, wellness to people that actually need it more than me. The second thing is there's a meditation retreat happening in February with Sarah and Earl. Earl did a 3-year meditation retreat. Sarah's been studying this for like 15 years. And they're extraordinary teachers. They teach the Tuesday night. So if you can, I don't know if we have the barcode, also on the 3jewels.org, there's just 10 spots left to that meditation retreat. It is in Nicaragua, on a lake, in a volcano, in the most stunning place.
Less spots actually.
Less spots actually. Less than 10 spots now left. So if you want to do that, it's a silent retreat on the 6 perfections, the things that you practice for kindness. And so it starts, lots of people talk about the retreat process, and then it's 4 sits a day, led by Earl and Sarah, yoga twice a day, awesome fruit. Sam will be teaching yoga. Sam is here. Say hi, Sam. She's going to be teaching asana. Sam's also an amazing practitioner and will be both a teacher and support in the retreat. And it's the first time we've done it since COVID, right? So if you're looking for a meditation retreat, do that. That's the 2 announcements. And lastly, thanks for joining on Tuesday. It's awesome to see familiar faces and new ones. I hope something landed, and next time Uncle Sam's shitty, you like, oh, hi. Be nice. Okay. Whatever problem comes up, I hope that you find the power within you to resist and create a different reality. Koan, goodbye. Thanks, Emma, for joining. Bye, Supriya. Lovely to see you. Monique, thanks for your questions. Adore you and a window you. Adore. Okay, Ruslan, good night. Hannibal. Hi, I didn't see you there. Hi. Hi, baby. Thanks, Rachel. Bye, Alexandria. Good night, everyone. Bye, Christine. I see you in the car. Bye.